some bread to my homies, they tell me I'm still not rich. Tell me I'm still not lit. How could you
Okay, so on my other tier list video, I had a very long-winded intro, and I feel like the title is pretty self-explanatory, so let's get into it. So let's get into this tier list, shall we? So, basically, this is pretty self-explanatory over here. Cookout Easy Pass just basically means that they're almost black to the point where like they're integrated into our culture. You know what I'm saying? Like they could be allowed to like one of the cookouts, you know, like and eat like low-key eat whatever they want, you know. Approaching cultural appropriation, it's kind of sketchy if they say the N-word. I look at them different. Like if I were like the animal's friend per se, I would kind of like be like, hey, I would stop kind of like approaching them like every day. Very inappropriate. As we all know, this just means that they are not really meant to say it at all. I mean, not at all. In some certain situations, like people can like pass it by, but overall, 9 times out of 10, it like just won't fly in like today's society. It depends. Just really means like, it just kind of like goes for like only two categories here. Like for example, we have like the human over here. Like it depends on if they can say like the N word, and like a woman, you know, over here. It depends. Are they white, black, Asian, whatever. And it also like kind of depends for like bears because like, as you may or may not know, I mean, not bears, but bears and like animals in general. Like as you may or may not know, some animals have black skin underneath the fur, so we really don't know their color. All right, and then here it just means that they're white. All right, they have no rights anymore. Like it's pretty self-explanatory. And then miscellaneous is just like for animals I don't really know. So let's get into it. Is this like a fish or something? Overall, if it lives in the bottom of the ocean, it's already like going through it, bro. It's already like in the trenches. So, based off that, I kind of would say that it's like cookout easy pass, based off that assumption. All right, and then we have like dinosaurs. These are like long neck dinosaurs. So, I feel like these long neck dinosaurs have had it really easy for a long time. So, you know, them kind of saying the N-word, even though like they look big and they're like pretty tough, would it really be appropriate due to how much privilege they've had? You know, okay, they could be hunted by like Tyrannosaurus Rexes and stuff like that because they're more powerful, but like they can pretty much avoid that. You know what I'm saying? What the hell is this? I'm gonna just assume that like this is like in the bottom of the ocean. Again, so based off that thesis, we're going to low cookout easy pass. Octopuses. The thing about octopuses is that they're really smart. You know, they are. I think they're asexual. I don't know. It's something weird about their reproducing system, but overall, these octopuses, you know, they've really been like going through it in the water, and they're still here. They really are, bro. Their birth rates, bro. Like to survive being an octopus is like really scary, apparently. So based off of that, I'm gonna have to like put it in like also like cookout prop. They're basically. I wouldn't really say they're black. I would say it's a high cookout easy pass. Sharks. Here's the things about sharks, right? Shark people for years have gotten like the wrong idea about these guys. More likely than not, they are not really gonna eat you if they approach you. In fact, they're gonna like try to run away from you. So for one, they're like kind of scared, you know. And for two, they've had so much privilege in the past and so much said about their name that doesn't really represent them. So based off that fact, I'm gonna have to put it in like very inappropriate for sharks to say the N-word. Wow, we're really going on. We're really going off of like the fishes here. Like I don't have like a lot of information about fishes. And bro, the sea is basically like the hood. I'm not gonna lie. Like like the depths of the sea is basically like, in my opinion, the depths of the sea is like way more dangerous than like living in dry land per se. So for this fish, I don't really know this fish, but I'm gonna have to put it in again. You know, probably cookout easy pass. The pufferfish. One of the most venomous animals in the world. All right, they basically have privilege based off that, but the thing is, they're really small and get preyed on a lot. So it's kind of weird. And since it's weird, I'd have to put it in approaching cultural appropriation. Okay, we have the lemur. The lemur. These guys are kind of like in like the same species as monkeys, and based off that, you think that you like I'd put them up over here, like to know they're basically black, but no, right? These lemurs, like, they're not really seen perpetrated as monkeys, so I can't really put them up there, but they're still kind of invited to the cookout. They're still kind of cool. I kind of like them. The pterodactyl, these guys can fly. These guys are like already privileged based off that fact. So I'm gonna have to put it in like, they're white. The orca. I think this is an orca. Orcas, bro. Orcas, bro. I feel like they're like the colonizers of the deep sea due to the fact that not only are they big, all right, they're like one of the biggest animals in the world. They're one of the biggest predators in the world, and I feel like they've had us so easy for so long that they don't deserve the N word. All right, so they're white. I'm sorry, they're white. The narwhal. See, I don't think this is the narwhal. Okay, this is the narwhal, and then this is the swordfish. I feel like these two are like kind of like interchangeable. But the thing is, with the swordfish, right? They're literally built with a stick. He carries a stick on him at all times. All right, you gotta understand that. If that's not like black behavior, I'm sorry, I don't know what is. So, based off that, they're basically black. All right, both of them are basically black. The what's this? Baboon, I think. I don't know. Based off the fact that it's like a baboon. Like, come on, they're black. They're basically black. Like, I'm really posting stereotypes here. The hippopotamus, man. Okay, so these guys, right? Basically, these guys are known for like the most animal deaths. I mean, no, the most human deaths. Like, wow, I really can't speak today, but these animals are pretty much known for killing the most humans in a 365-day cycle. So based off that alone, they're like monsters, and plus they also get ridiculously like nerfed by other animals. So based off that, I want to say they're black. One thing about their personalities too is that they're really, really, really like aggressive. Not only that, they're also like kind of bipolar. So kind of off that, they're like, basically black. A human, again, it really depends. All right, it really depends on which color you are. All right, if you're like black, African, yeah, you're pretty much into S tier. But if you're white, however, you have to go like all the way down here. Like, it's a given. So based off the fact that we're taking like any random human, it will depend. All right. So kangaroos. The thing about kangaroos, right? They're mostly based in Australia, and Australia is like kind of known for like beyond like kangaroos. They don't really have like apex predators. So they lived knowing that they're basically like how should I say it? They lived like knowing that they're hot shit for their whole life, and I feel like based off that and the fact that they're not even that strong, they're white. They think that it's like white suburban people like thinking like suburban people like having like so much privilege, thinking they're from the hood, but in reality, like, no, you're not. Like, okay, you're one of the strongest land animals in the world, but you're not like surviving a single day in a savannah. All right, you're not surviving the Amazon rainforest. All right, you can't do that, bro. A seahorse. Seahorses. Fun fact about them. The woman gets the man pregnant, and I feel like based on that, that's an easy easy pass, bro. That's gangster. I like that. All right, wait. Yeah, thirsty today. A T-Rex. Is that a T-Rex? That's not a T-Rex, but let's just say it's a dinosaur. Again, they're privileged, so it would be very inappropriate for them to say the N-word. All right, the rooster. The rooster gets up in the morning every day pretty early, has to do their thing. It's a wake, bro. It's quite literally a wake up and grind, bro. Wake up and hustle, man. Bro, that's the one reason why I put them like at Cookout Easy Pass. But other than that, like, they're kind of like stupid animals. That's the thing. They don't really know what they're doing most of the time, and they rely based off instinct. Which, bro, I'm actually changing my mind here. That would make them even more big gangster, It's just, everything's just based off it. They don't really have to think about much. They just go for it, and I like that. Seals. I don't think seals has been through much. I think it's a seal. It's a seal, and this is a walrus. Again, thing is, they live near polar bears, so based off that fact alone, I'm gonna have to put them at cultural appropriation or above. But I feel like for this right here, this big like, not a waste of space, but like big. How can I say it? Let's ignore that. But these guys, they basically like reportedly like colonized some type of land in Australia, and they're basically like allowed on land based on how big they are. So I might have to dock them some points because basically colonized an area. So it would be very inappropriate for, a walrus to say the N word, and not so much for a kind of a seal to say the N word. I'm really zooming in and out a lot, so if that bothers you guys, for my next videos, I'll try to stop that. But wow, okay, a lot of animals here. The platypus, yeah, no, the platypuses, they're built different. All right, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. They're not normal humans. They're not normal. Whoa, they're not normal. They're not normal animals at all. They're the definition of built different. All right, you gotta understand. But bro, do your research on these guys, bro. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of lore. I'm gonna say that. The beaver, you know, they're kind of like the provider man. You know, they build their own houses. They don't try to bother anyone. Try to keep the peace. And I like that. That's cool. But like, are they black? They're not technically black, but they can get invited to the cookout. I'd allow it, but not more than a lemur. All right, dogs. If we're talking about domesticated dogs, I feel like it would be kind of inappropriate. But since they are dogs and they mostly like rely on instinct, and they're pretty like cool partners, like they're literally like the man's best friend, right? So I wouldn't really say that they're black, but I would say that they're like a really like approaching black. You know what I'm saying? The spider, the tarantula, they just like, only reason why humans like scare them is because they look weird. They're literally like harmless. So it's like another case with the shark, right? It would be very inappropriate. All right, venomous frogs, like frogs with like bright colors on them. Off of their bright color alone, that would like, that's like the only thing that helps them in the animal kingdom, right? But other than that, if they didn't have like the venomous skin, they would kind of like be. I think they would go instinct. All right, I think these guys would go instinct. So they have privilege based off the fact that they literally have privilege based off the color of their skin. So I'm gonna have to put them in white. They're white. I'm sorry, they're white. All right, let's leave it at that. All right, the centipede. Centipede doesn't really do much, but it really tries. It really like. I think it's really like gangster that they have found means of surviving. Like 5,000 years of human evolution without going extinct. So based off that, I'm gonna have to respect that they're basically black. The snake, again, it's privilege, man. These guys eat more than they could chew. These guys are venomous, so it's like easy privilege, and these guys can hide easily. So like based off of these factors, like they're white. So the scorpion, right? Drake called his album Scorpion, so based off that, it's approaching cultural appropriation. Horses. For the horse, right? Horse, a little bit of like horse lore here. These guys, when like the male kind of grows up, they're basically like left all alone to try to find like like basically a whole like they're basically like left alone to build their own frat community where they just like screw all the women and teach like all the young men. And so based off that, it's kind of gangster. And also, let's talk about their personalities for a second. Again, they're very aggressive animals. Once you push their buttons, so like they're like the hippo, but like they're more controlled. All right, they're a bit more domesticated, and also like they're kind of bipolar. So yeah, I feel like horses are kind of black based off that. Is that what the hell is a dolphin? If that's a dolphin, hell no, they're white. They're white. They don't deserve any type of black privilege. Not at all. Okay, read about like dolphin lore or something like that. They don't deserve it. Not at all. All right. The wolf. I feel like the wolf are basically like dogs, but like not domesticated. So based off that like idea, and the fact that they're like kind of like horses in a sense, with like the tribes and stuff, I'd put them in cookout easy pass. Is it a pit bull? Yeah, pit bull, bro. Pit bulls are synonymous with like New York Goonies. All right, so based off that, like they're basically black. Bro, pit bulls are basically like synonymous with the hood. Like what? They're more black than some people I know. All right, and that's saying something. What is this? Snow leopard? No, no, that's not snow leopard. Like, look at the ears. Not a cougar. Not a cougar. What am I thinking of? It's it starts with an L. Liger? Not a liger. It's not called liger. A lynx. I think it's a lynx. Okay, the lynx. All right, based off the fact that it lives like in cold weather alone. Like, aren't these guys Loki from Toronto? Like Loki, aren't these guys like Toronto like Goonies? Based off that, and the fact that they have less of a chance of surviving than polar bears, it's kind of like high approaching cultural appropriation because again they can fight. They can fight. No, let me put it in cookout easy pass. All right, the lion. From what I know, again, it's a case with the sharks. They don't deserve a lot of, black privilege. All right, so it would also be very inappropriate. But these guys, I think this is like the coyote. They do. All right, they kind of deserve it, based off the fact, bro. Coyotes, lucky, bro. They got it rough, bro. I'm not gonna lie, these guys got it rough. But yeah, so I put it. Nah, they're not black enough, but they do kind of deserve it. The Komodo dragon. Okay, this guy. Wow. Komodo dragon, bro. Out of all like the animals that kind of scare me, out of all the animals that terrify me, I think this one kind of terrifies me the most. Not really the most, but okay, this animal right here. All right, which I'll get to later, and this animal right here. They're both very, very terrifying. Top 10 reasons I wouldn't want to go to Australia. Like, guys, don't go to Australia, please. I wouldn't recommend a trip there. Especially don't go on the beaches. Don't go to the beaches. All right? But Komodo dragon. Thing is, very, very, very venomous animals. They get what they want pretty easily. But the thing is, they can only prey on, like, small animals. Can they take on big animals? Can they take on, bro, can a lion eat a Komodo dragon? I feel like I have to answer that later, but based off what I know about these guys are these guys are like basically black. These guys are black. Isn't this like aren't one of the first insects to ever like go on dry land? Off of that alone, I feel like they didn't really go through much compared to other animals. Like they would go through stuff later, from what I assume. But the thing is, they basically had privilege for a long time, so they're kind of white to me. All right, and we have these things, sea urchins, I think. Yeah, these guys always trying to find a way to like kind of survive, and the fact that they're still here today proves a lot. All right, so I think they're like top dollar. They're top G's. All right, they're cookout easy pass. All right, the penguin. These guys are horrible. All right, they're horrible people, but you wouldn't want them to like take on human form. Let me just say that. But yeah, do penguins deserve the N-word pass? No, not at all. I feel like these guys, even though these guys live in like the snow, they come in packs of plenty, and not only that, they know how to like organize themselves. They're like Great Britain to a certain extent. So these guys are white. All right, the polar bear. Sorry, I can't speak today. If you guys didn't catch that, but the polar bear, in my opinion, even though they have black skin underneath, they're too privileged to have the N-word pass. I'm sorry, these guys are way too privileged to have the N-word pass. Let me maximize this. All right, cool. I can see everything now. God, I don't have to zoom in anymore. But yeah, these guys, they don't deserve the N-word pass. They're too privileged. All right. So
They tell me I'm still not rich. Tell me I'm still not lit. How could you tell me I'm still not shit? Put a few lame niggas.
honey badger, these guys are black. Zero explanation needed. What I know about the cow, all right, is that they're pretty like cool with situations that don't suit them. Like they have enough weight and enough population to kind of take like farmers, like small scale farmers on, and colonize them. Like, come on, they're dogs, guys. They're dogs. Unless it's like a golden retriever, I feel like they can kind of like say the N-word. Thing is about cats, right? Cats subconsciously try to manipulate humans into thinking they're cute. Not only that, they have built-in mechanisms within themselves that allow them to pretty much survive like high, really high falls from like really high areas. And not only that, these guys are like pretty rude, from what I know. They just like kind of want food from you and don't want anything else. These guys are like the French people of like the animal kingdom. Like we no one really likes French people. I'm not gonna lie. So they're white.